Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day this video hits you. It's morning for me, so I got my coffee. So this morning, I have some bed stiffeners to install. I've been wanting to install these for a while, but I had difficulties getting a T55 Torx bit. I don't know why it was so difficult, but it was incredibly difficult, but I finally got it. So we're gonna install that today. I have the bed rack system, I have a tent. These are very important if you're putting any sort of weight on these composite beds. It's kind of cheap insurance, they're 100, 120 bucks, something like that, so they're definitely worth doing. So anyways, I'm gonna tackle the driver's side real quick. Make sure I know what I'm doing and iron out any difficulties that I may have, and then I'm gonna walk you guys through the passenger side. So let's get into it. As you can see, I got the driver's side done. It was a really easy installation process. It took me about 20 minutes to install that side, and I made one mistake, which was just really stupid. I forgot washers on one side, so I had to go back through and add them. Anyways, let's go over what you need real quick, and then we'll get into the install. Okay, so this is everything that you're gonna need. You obviously need a drill. The way I'm gonna show you how to do it, you're gonna need 2 drill bits, one for a pilot hole and a 3/8 to drill the final hole big enough for the bolts that they provided. You're gonna need a ratchet, a 14mm wrench, a 14mm socket, a 10mm socket, a 5.5mm Allen wrench, a T40 Torx bit, a T55 Torx bit, and then I chose to do a center punch just to make sure that the drill bit stayed in place. So if you choose to do that as well, you'll need a center punch and a hammer. So the first thing that needs to be done is to take out the tail light, and all you need for this is a 10mm socket. You're gonna take out this bolt and this one. Once you have the bolts out, you can pull the taillight out, but you have to tug on it a little bit because there's 2 tabs kind of holding it in place. This tab and this tab are just pressed in there, so they'll pull right out. Next thing we're going to do is remove the bed bolt and the tie down. You're going to use a T40 Torx and a T55 Torx for that. Next thing we're going to do is put the bed stiffener in place, and then put the bolts back and lightly tighten them. Now that the bed stiffener's in place, you're going to do 3 center punches if you choose to do this. So there's one right here, 2, 3, and then there's a 4th one right there. Alright, so this step is where things are going to differ from what Cali-Raised says. I left the bed stiffeners in place and just drilled through them using that pilot bit and then the 3/8 bit for the final hole. They recommend you do the center punch or mark it with a Sharpie or something like that remove the bed stiffener and then drill the holes. I honestly don't see the point in that extra step, so I'm just gonna drill right through it. That's what I did on the driver's side, and everything lined up perfectly. I think the important thing to remember is just keep the bed stiffener a little bit loose as you're doing this, and don't tighten up the bed bolt and everything until you have the other provided hardware all secured. So we're gonna do that now. All right, so now it's time to run the bolts through. So what you're gonna do is bolt, washer, run it through, washer, bolt. The two top ones are really difficult to get to. There's this, I'll show you this bar. I hope you can see it, but there's this little bracket right here that is in front of two of the holes. So you can see one of the holes right here, and then another one right there. Both of them are fairly difficult to get to, which is where that 14mm wrench comes in. You're just gonna have to tighten that with the Allen wrench for the most part. So it's a little time consuming, but it's not too bad. Once you have all four of the nuts and bolts tightened up, you can go ahead and tighten the tie down bolt and the bed bolt. Final step is to get that tail light back in. Be sure not to over tighten the tail lights. You're just screwing them into plastic, so you could crack the housing if you go too tight. And there we go, install complete. Despite the fact that he's a terrorist, you all seem to like my dog Charlie, so I'm gonna have him come test it out. So there we go, install complete. It was super easy. It was so fast, he wasn't able to catch his breath from the last play session. I think the entire thing took me like 40 minutes. You know, if I wasn't filming, it would have taken me about 40 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes. So yeah, super easy. Now I can get everything set up the way it needs to be, get that tent on there, and sleep in it without my bed falling apart, which is super cool. I know I just did a bed rack setup, but unfortunately that's gonna have to be redone. I didn't anticipate getting the tent this summer. So the bed bars themselves are too close together, so I have to extend that, which means figuring out how I'm gonna mount things with the tent on there high level. So that's probably gonna be next. Anyways, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys in the next one.